The other day, I was opening Pinterest looking for some inspiration for future projects, and something that really caught my eye, those game effects in Unreal Engine especially. And this image that blew my mind. Crazy. I want to recreate that in Blender. And voila, that's it. I created that image, okay, in Blender. And you see it right now. This is the project file, guys. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to make it yourself, even though you are complete beginner. And as you can see, it looks sharp, it looks good, it looks stylized, it looks like anime. Oh my god, I like it. I like it. I like it. And this shader, you can also export it to other game engines. You know the trick. There is a lot of videos showed that. But anyways, it's not my video. So yeah, let's show you basically or break down this project file. So it's made of a ground, okay, and some rocks that I have created myself in my live streams. Later on, when you're done with this video, watching this video, you can go to my channel, go to the live streams, and you'll find a list of live streams creating semi-realistic assets for my future project, okay? And they are available to download with this project file, just this project file, on my Patreon. And also in my Patreon account, I show you guys how to make cool anime stuff, in-depth tutorials right there, courses, and more to come. And now let's jump into an empty scene so I can show you how to recreate this entire effect. Here we are in a fresh Blender scene. I'm going to select everything and delete them. First of all, I'm going to create that ground by Shift and adding plane, and scale that plane and apply its scale. You can expand this window, so we are saving some space, and let's switch it to shader editor. Add to a new material, name it ground, and you can delete the principal PSDF and add a diffuse PSDF and connect it to the surface. And you can switch to the material preview, and to add that texture, we are going to add a checker texture and use its color into the color for the diffuse. Right now it's too big. We can scale it up to 50 or 60 or do something that you find working for you. For the A color or the color number 1, I'm going to use this color, and this is the hex value. For the second one, I'm going to use this color, and this is the hex value for that. And basically now we're done with this ground. And I have imported my rocks from that project file, okay? So I can't recreate them right now, so just import them. Okay, they're working right now. Shift A and add a plane for the water, okay? Scale it, so it's gonna cover most of these rocks, and just move it up a tiny bit, something like this, or you can move it slightly more. Yeah, just to cover some of these rocks. That's good. Add to a new material, and let's call it water. And right here, I'm going to delete the principal PSTF because we are not going to use it. We are going to use an emission node and a transparent PSTF, and mix them together with a mix shader node. Connect the emission to the shader number 1 and transparent to the shader number 2 and the shader into the surface. And go to the material settings, under the settings, switch it to the blend mode, switch it to alpha blend, and the shadow mode either to alpha hashed or none. I'm going to use none, so it's not gonna emit or cast any shadows. And right now, I'm just going to close this by pressing N, and I'm going to add a noise texture, and Control T so we can add to a texture coordinate and mapping node. And if we press Control Shift and left click so we can preview this noise texture, as you can see, it's working perfectly. But we need to change the coordinates from generated into object because we are going to use a lot of these nodes. And for the scale, you can pick a scale, but something that I found that's working really well is minus 0.05, or you can do 0.5. And for the detail, increase it to the maximum. And actually you can go over 15, but just make it 15. And you can increase the roughness to something that looks like something like this. 0.6 is enough. And right now I want to distort this noise texture, so it's gonna make a circle with these distortions. So to do that, I'm going to add a gradient texture, and let's add to it its own mapping and texture coordinates. And don't forget to use object, because we are using object. If you use generated, use generated in all nodes. And I'm going to add a mix color, add it in between of the texture coordinate and mapping node for this noise texture, and set it to max. And then the color of the gradient into the color B, and increase this factor, something like this. And now let's go back to the gradient texture. Let's change it to spherical or either quadratic sphere. Let's make it spherical. You see this effect right now. It's working really well. And actually, you can play with its own scale, so it's not going over the edges of this thing. And I'm going to copy this gradient texture, just a gradient texture, Shift D, and also its mapping node. You can press backspace so you can reset this mapping, and you can plug it into here, and you can plug the gradient texture into here. And as you can see, now it looks good. Just move these out of the way, and you can add a color ramp. So basically, now you can play with this color ramp. You can add another color ramp outside, make it black, and you can play with this. You can play with its own scale, as you can see, something like this. And don't worry, okay, don't worry if you see this kind of good. Yep, actually something like this. You can go back right here and you can scale it up if you like. Like this, we are going to cut these edges later on. Pretty good. And now let's create that mask. We can modify it later on, don't worry about it. Let's add the mask. So the mask is actually just the gradient texture itself with its own mapping and texture coordinate. Remember, object coordinate. Let's view it right now. Add to it a color ramp. And I'm going to add in between black color. Yeah, in the edge, sorry, not in between. Okay, just so we can cut it like this. So we can leave the effect in the edges. And now let's multiply these results together using a mix color. And let's switch it from mix to multiply, and multiply it by 1. And as you can see, this effect is limited to the edges, and that's what we need. If you see it's over the edges, you can go back into here and adjust this. Okay, that's pretty good. Very nice. You can switch it either to B-spline if you want to make it smooth. It's gonna go like this. So we're gonna go like so. Maybe smooth, it's too much for it smooth. We can add another stop. Let's make it black also. Yep, something that looks like this. Okay, I found it to be something like this. So this is the positions. So this is number 1, number 2, 3, and finally number 4. So basically this is gonna be our first factor, and let's see it. And if it's not working for you, you can flip these emission and transparency so you can see the effect right now. Okay, you can see it, but it's subtle. You can increase the emission strength so you can see it better. Okay, I'm going to leave the coloration or the colors to the last, so don't worry about it. So now we have the first effect, okay, or the first thing. We can add it to a group, Ctrl J, so we are organized. And right now I'm going to create the second effect, okay, so you can see it. Let's create it. Let's add a noise texture. Okay, we can copy these or duplicate them, but just let's introduce new stuff. Okay, Ctrl T so we can add to it texture coordinate and stuff. Remember, object, and let's view. Okay, that's good. And in here we are going to add the gradient texture. Okay, Ctrl T, object. Let's add the max color node and put in here. and use the color into the B color. And let's switch it from linear into spherical. As you can see, that looks good. And let's put the details to 15. Okay. And the scale here, oh, sorry, zoomed out a little bit. Let's go to this gradient texture, scale, and we can scale a little bit, okay? So we can scale it like 0.9-ish, yeah? As you can see, we can increase this factor a little bit so it's more round, okay? And also you can play with the roughness, okay? I like it to be something like this, yeah. And now let's create the mask. So basically, the gradient texture, let's press backspace so this mapping is reset, sets to reset condition. And now let's add a color ramp so we can play with the mask. And now let's multiply these over each other's with max color node, and let's switch it from max to multiply. Okay, factor sets to 1. As you can see, that looks good, but we need to remove it from the center. Also the same thing, play with the stops. Create a new stop, make it black. Also you can do B-spline if you like. Sorry, not constant. It's laggy a little bit, but don't worry about it. Something like so. You can remove it from the edges. And you can make it something like this, subtle amount. Yeah, this is pretty good. And this is gonna be here for the factor. Let's see it, how it's gonna look. Plug this into output. We can flip these. Okay, and as you can see, that looks good. Decrease this strength. Okay, that looks good. So this is for the first effect. Okay, and actually I can paste the color in here. Let's paste it. So this is the color, and this is the hex value for that. Okay, that looks good to me actually. Looks really good. Looks smooth. If you wanna make it more sharp, you can add a color ramp in here. And you can play with these stops. Okay, if you wanna make it strong, it's up to you. Yeah. So this is the second effect. And to fill up like the middle area, let's introduce new mix shader node here. And the emission, plug into here. And you'll see it's gonna be bright, don't worry. And now I'm going to use the same gradient, but I'm just going to play with its color ramp and connect the color into the factor here. And as you can see, it's working pretty good. And you can make this not white, a bit darker, so it's gonna be transparent a little bit. As you can see, that's pretty good. So that's the base. That's good base actually. And I forgot to group these. So let's press C so we can select these. Select these. C and move them in here. Control J to add them to a frame. And let's add it to here. That's good. And this is gonna be another one. Control J. Frame it. Okay, don't worry about it. Let's move this down. And let's move these in here. Okay, that's pretty good. Now let's move on to another effect that's gonna be similar to the one on it on the edges, but it's gonna be strong a little bit. So let's add the wave texture. Let's add it in here above. So this is an empty area. Let's add a wave texture. And by default, the wave texture is working like this. Some lines. We want it to be circular in a circle. And this is good to make metallic stuff like the pan in, yeah, behind or under the pan. You can see this you know, pattern. Anyways, let's switch it from bands to rings. Nothing has changed, but we can just switch it from from X, sorry, to spherical. And it's gonna work, kind of. And let's add to it texture coordinates and mapping node. So it's gonna be from not an UV, but it's gonna be in the center here. Let's move it to object coordinate. As you can see, it's working pretty good. And it's just a matter of scaling it. So it's gonna be big and a little bit. Okay, something like this. Yeah, something like this. It's gonna be good. And in between, you know the trick, distort it a little bit. Let's add a mix color node. Okay, and leave it as mix. And I'm going to go here. And as you can see, these nodes, I'm going to copy them. Let's zoom out a little bit so you can see. Yeah, this is the nodes. Control C and Control V. And okay, there is not enough space. Let's move these out in here. And let's plug this factor into the color B. And let's play with this factor here a little bit. Maybe something like this. Actually, you can move the factor to 1. Yeah, it's gonna be good. And just, yeah, 1. 1 is gonna be good. Very good, actually. And if you wanna increase it more, you can play with the distortion right here. Okay, or you can decrease it. Also here in the noise texture, you can play with the scale, so you can get different results. Here in the mix for this gradient, you can just decrease it a little bit, so you can get different results. So basically, it's up to your taste. So how you like it, you can do it. Also, the scale does matter, like this scale kind of. Okay, you can exaggerate these by adding color ramp in here, and also before this noise texture, you can add a color ramp, so you can get different results. So it's not the same every time. So you can just play with these. Maybe move the black slider kind of. Yeah, the black slider is gonna do different results. Yeah, that's gonna be good. Yeah, that's good. You can do the same thing here also. You can exaggerate it more. And it's up to the scale also. Maybe a scale of 2, kind of. Yep, scale of 2 is gonna add a lot of these. And that's what I need. And also, a beautiful mask. Let's copy this. Shift D. Oh, sorry. Let's delete this. Shift D. Okay. And now let's multiply this over this. And don't forget to switch it from mix to multiply. Let's move it up here. So we are organized kind of. Let's move it to multiply. And factor sets to 1. Okay. And this color is going to be white. Okay. You can move it back to linear. It's pretty good. You can increase here the scale of that gradient or decrease it. It's up to you. And you can add another stop. So you can remove it from the inside. You know, it's up to you like this. So it is just in the edges, you know, something like this. And this is gonna be another mix shader. Connect it and another emission and connect it right here. And this is gonna be our factor. And let's preview it. And as you can see, it's working. You can only just increase this strength, so it's over this one. It's gonna be strong a little bit. Also, as I said, you can add a color ramp, so you can smooth the effect a little more if you like. You know, it's up to you. You can make it smooth a little bit. You know, something like this. This is a good base actually. Move this back. And we already created a cool setup right here. Let's move these so they are good or organized kind of. Press C. And just with your mouse. C again. Select this. Right click. Move this up. Ctrl J. Add it to a frame. Okay, this is a good base. So we have made a good base, yeah. And you can select this thing. Okay, or the whole setup actually. Add to it. See. Oh, sorry, I deleted that by mistake. Ctrl Z, please. Okay. See. Select that. Okay. Shift D. Duplicate the same setup. And also duplicate the mix shader. Duplicate the emission. And right now I'm going to make this a bit saturated and a bit strong and connect it right here. And the same setup. Just wait. I'm going to connect it to the factor here. Zoom in a little bit so. Okay, so like this. Because this is the same, it's gonna overlap. And we don't need it to overlap, so we can play with the scale in here. can pick a different scale actually, and you can make this more rougher. Okay, as you can see, that's good. It's looking pretty good. Maybe it's too saturated. Let's move it aside, and also go back to the color ramps here. Make sure they are not that sharp. And basically, this is how the node setup looks. Okay, you have made the material. Oh, forgot about this one. Okay, I was about to forget about it. So let's get these, connect this to this to this, and let's connect this one because I forgot about it. And move in here. I created too many. Okay, let's increase this value. Yeah, just increase it. That's gonna look good. That's going to look good. Sounds like this. Now let's go back to the camera view and let's see it from the camera. Where's the camera? Oh, don't tell me that you deleted the camera. Oh my god. Let's pick another view. Let's save from here. Control Alt 0. Snap the camera, turn off the compositor, and let's move it to orthographic. And let's pick 1080 by 1080. Let's go back to the camera settings, move it to the angle, and play with the zooming. Okay, you can enable depth of field and f-stop 1.4 for a shallow depth of field, and you can increase this value in here. Looks good. And now let's switch to the compositor, and I'm going to select this. And actually you can take screenshots so you can recreate the same setup and follow my steps. Okay, anyways, in here in this soft light I'm going to switch it to add. Okay, and let's again enable the compositor. You can play with these thresholds. Okay, and this mix here, it's good. You can exaggerate this color balance toward blues. Also, you can add hue saturation value node, so you can add some saturation in here. You can remove this multiply or this vignette, and you can add a Kuwahara node. Okay, and right now let's switch to the viewport or the render viewport. Yeah, Shift N. Let's add a light. Let's add area light, and let's move this light over these things. Increase its power to 2000, and let's scale it up a little bit so it's soft. So yeah, like this. Okay, that looks good. And in the render properties, in the bloom, decrease the threshold and increase the intensity a lot, and let's make it blue. Also, you can play with its radius. You like it to be more. The knee also. The radius. Let's go back here. More blooming. No, it doesn't hurt at all. It looks good actually. Even though it's too bright, but decrease the value here. As you can see, let's move on to this Kuwahara node. Let's switch it to anisotropic. Increase the sharpness a little bit. This thing. And decrease the scale a little bit. It's gonna be good. You can always in the compositor here. That looks good. And to create these bubbles, I'm going to add a UV sphere. And you can scale it down, right click and shade it smooth. Let's go to the material, add to a material, name it bubble. Okay, let's remove this principal PSCF and let's add emission, and let's add a transparent PSCF. Mix them together, plug it to the surface, and we need a Fresnel node, and let's plug this into the factor, and we need a color ramp. Okay, that's gonna work. Zoom in a little bit so we can see it better. You can play with these color ramps. You can invert it, and you can play with the blend if you like. Something like this. And I'm going to multiply it with the noise texture. Also, make sure the material is transparent with alpha blend. It's gonna be smooth kind of. Okay, let's isolate that. Okay. Add to it texture coordinates and mapping, switch it to object. If you have UV, this UV sphere, you can use UV. And let's multiply over the Fresnel. Make sure it is sets to multiply here. Factor sets to 1. Let's add a color ramp in here. And you can tweak this. Maybe you can flip them. Okay. I can see that. What's happening here? Oh my god, Blender lagged. Blender lagged. Let's see if we can recover. Last session. Oh my god, we can't recover. Oh my god, let's do autosave. Yeah, we're back, guys. We're back. Okay. There was a problem here. I can't figure out what is the problem. But let's see. Oh yeah. The blending here for this IOR is gonna be, yeah, something like this. And now let's exaggerate this a little bit. Can we invert? Yeah, we can't invert this. So what's happening right now? Oh, yeah, it's flipped. Flip it again. Let's do none. Oh, it's working, but let me see again. Maybe something like this. And let's see it now. We can invert this. Yep, by inverting it, it looks good. Okay, let's scale this so it's big, kind of. And something like this, maybe. We can increase the strength here. Also, we can make it this. So it's in the edges. Yeah, something like this. So yeah, the IR or the blend is 1.020. And these are the settings. Not that much. You can increase the detail, but no one will see that. So it's just a small thing. Now let's press forward slash so we can go back to our main scene. Okay, it's gonna lag. I know it's gonna lag. Oh, God. And now what I'm going to do, let's add a cube. Let's add a cube, scale it up. And let's go to edit mode. I'm going to select these faces or vertices and move them up. Something like this. And let's jump into not the material. Let's jump into geometry nodes. Let's add the geometry node setup. I'm going to do mesh to volume. And we need to distribute some points on the volume, in the volume. And we need an instance on points. And what we need to instance, let's go back to the camera view. What we need to instance is this sphere. Okay, let's go back and select it. And where is our cube? Cube is gone. Maybe this is the cube. Yeah, this is the cube. Let's select the sphere, drag it and drop it in here. If it's not working for you, you can add only an object info node and you can eyedrop it like this. Okay, and geometry into the instances. Very good. Now the instances are too big. Okay, we need few of them. Okay, maybe 7. And now let's add let's add a random value. Okay, make sure it sets to float and plug it into scale. And now we need a minimum scale to be something like small. And this one is gonna be something also really small. Just play with this until it fits the scene a little bit. Okay, something that looks like this. You can select the cube, scale it a little bit so it's around the thing. It's almost like this. And move these a little bit like this. Make sure they are so small, not too big. You can apply the transforms. And in here, density, make it something like this. Yeah, something like this. That's pretty good. Let's select the sphere. Let's go to its material. And I forgot to add something like bluish tones. Let's add like a bluish tone, kind of like this. Increase its strength so it's strong. So it's gonna interact a little bit with the water. And yeah, maybe scale this a little bit, move it up, move it down actually, make it only 1000, and voila, you can experiment with this. And for the animation, for these, only select these noise textures and switch them to 4D, and you can play with the W value. Let me introduce that to you so you can have an idea. Okay, just leave it a second, and you can play with this W value. Okay, so it's gonna be animated like this. As you can see, you can add a hashtag frame. So hashtag frame, and divide it by maybe 900. So it's gonna be slow. Maybe 900 is too much. Try 10 and see. Yeah, 10 is too much. Let's do 50. Oh, maybe 1. Let's do 1. No. It's too much. It's so much. Let's do 100. Okay, 100 is gonna work. Yeah, 100 is working, as you can see. It's slow a little bit, but you know, with all of these working at the same time with different values, it's gonna look great. Okay, believe me, it's gonna look great. And in here, just to spice it up, I'm going to add contrast, a little bit of contrast. Okay, let's add a contrast, brightness of contrast, add a bit of contrast. Oh, compositor, why it's not working? Camera, oh my god, oh my god, oh my days, it looks great, gorgeous, looks gorgeous. Oh my god, it looks crazy, looks crazy, guys, looks crazy. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, let's enable it always here. Oh wow, crazy, just crazy, guys, just crazy, really crazy. Like really crazy. You can render that out if you want to see it. And of course, disable the freestyle. And it's gonna be our render. Let's give it a second to compose it. And boom. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, that looks crazy. I'm going to animate it, and yeah, I will leave you here, guys. If you want more tutorials like this, please like this video and join me over on Patreon, and you will have full access or early access before anyone else, so you can watch these tutorials. And see you soon, and salam.